Now, we all know why we're here. We are here because we love our freedoms, and by God, we want to do everything we can to keep them. And you know, we're lucky because we were born in this country, most of us were anyway, because our birthright is the very freedoms that we get from God Almighty and are supposed to be protected by the Bill of Rights and our Constitution. But there are many people that come from other countries, from all over the world. I mean, for years, the Statue of Liberty beckoned immigrants. Give us you're tired, you're hungry, you're poor, whatever it was, I forget. And people would come here so that they could be free and they could live the American dream. The sad fact is that through attrition, through manipulation, through mind control, dare I say, and the execution of those methodologies with the mainstream media for not years but decades, we have now dumbed down a population to the point where they don't even know what freedoms are. And most of Americans don't only not know, but they don't care, which is it's in itself a crime. But you see, like I said, there are people that came from all over the world so that they could be free because they suffered oppression. They lived it. They know it. And you know what they say, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And unfortunately, that we may be in that position in this country because most of these American sheeple and these dumb meatheads don't recognize their freedoms if they were to come and smack them between the eyes. But you know what? Those that do come here value their freedom. And when they understand freedom, they, like anybody else who understands it, wants to spread the word, wants to share it. Such is the case with the next speaker. Of course, most of you know Payman, but what's amazing is that he came from Iran. And right now, our country is saber-rattling against his country. It's not right. You know it. I know it. And you know what? They know it too. Payman is in a very difficult position because of his national heritage. And my heart goes out to him and his family because Payman is leading the charge to help us all learn what we should have learned in our grade schools and high schools. We got a lot of catching up to do, and thanks to educators like our next speaker, maybe we have a chance of winning back our rights, our freedoms, and our country. And with that, I would like to present to you an American patriot from Iran, Mr. Payman Matahedeh. American patriot.
Thank you.
You're not even wearing red. Well, you are wearing red, white, and blue, aren't
yes,
you? There it
yes,
is.
yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dave, for that great introduction. I appreciate that. Folks, it's wonderful to be with you. In fact, I have the pleasure every year of being with hundreds of like-minded, truth, peace, justice, and freedom seekers like you, and to share some moments and share some information and insights about what's going on in America and our rights and freedom and what we can do to change it back to the way it was supposed to be, to have freedom in America once again. What I'd like to do, because you know I got a two-part presentation, I'll be speaking today and I'll be speaking with you again tomorrow as well. But what I wanted to do is to give you guys some insights today about what's going on in America as opposed to the rest of the world, and take you to a direction of where we can go to, you know, make change for the better. You know, I was born and raised in Iran in 1962, and I had the pleasure of having a father who was, in addition to being very kind, I went whenever with him, whenever he went to see with his friends and talk, and they didn't talk about football or sports or basketball. Him and his friends, they always talked about politics, about the Arab-Israeli conflict, the Soviet Union versus the West conflict, the Iranian politics. So rather than take an interest in how many times these people took the ball to this corner of the field versus the other. I took interest in what really matters, what's going on with our lives, who's affected them, you know, things that actually can destroy our lives and kill us or save our lives to live in peace. And this was particularly important to me because I realized in those discussions that in Iran, the Shah of Iran, the king of Iran, he was installed into power as a dictator king. He was supposed to be a monarch king, figurehead king, like the Queen of England is. That's what he was supposed to be. But he was put back in power by the CIA as a dictator king, as a puppet of the United States government, by getting rid of a democratically elected, lawful government of Iran. It's like if Queen of England got rid of the Prime Minister Brown they got, and she became dictator queen. That's kind of what the CIA did to us in Iran. And they've also put in place a secret service called SAVAK, which was a police state thing where they did not allow you to criticize the government. If you criticize the government in any way, they would not only spy on you, they would easily kidnap you, take you, put you in jail, put you on a secret trial or some phony trial, no jury ever, or no trial. Keep you in there for jail for however long as they wanted to. They would torture you or execute you. And so, knowing that, I knew that you don't talk about this stuff to anybody, only among close friends and close family members, privately, because other people might hear it, and they could be government spies. Well, so when I came to America in 1977, at the age of 14, to finish high school, get ready to go to college, because that's what my father sent me here for, I was glad to be in a free country. More than being in a country that was so rich. And I tell you, when we first moved out here, I lived in Brentwood, California. Brentwood is like between Beverly Hills and Bel Air and Santa Monica, nice area. And I thought, wow. Look at all the wealth these guys got in America. They got cement on the streets, unending cement highways. Cement was so expensive that you barely put it in the buildings, you know. These guys got so much metal, they put it on the nails on the highways that don't end. Where did I get all this stuff? I was amazed. But the freedom was a part I liked about America the more, because I thought, well, hey, that's the place you can say what you want to say. You can criticize the government, and they cannot stop you, you know. And it's like great, you know, no thought control, you know, thought crimes. So finished high school, went to got my university degree. But before I did, funny thing happened. I took an economics class because I was interested in how things work. And right there in my very first 101 economics class, I learned that in America we don't have a free enterprise system like we're supposed to have. What we have in America is a combination socialism, combination fascism. Most people don't know what socialism means. That means, you know, society takes care of everybody. The government runs things for the benefit of the good, supposedly, you know, all these societal programs. Government takes care of you from cradle to grave, like mommy, daddy, nanny state. Like Social Security and welfare and Medicare and unemployment and this, that, the other. And on the other hand, you got fascism, which is corporations, the big banks of corporations and government in bed together. That means the corporations and bankers put the politicians in power, and the politicians protect the rights and interests of the big corporations and banks. Of course, who gets to be left behind is the average common worker, average common man. So I realized at that time that this phony divide that they've done to America, as far as say I'm left or right, is actually a deception on us. Let me ask you this honestly: how many of you, when you grew up, you have thought or told, or when you became politically aware, that you are a liberal? Can I see show of hand? How many thought you are liberal? You know, okay, come on, don't be shy. We're just doing a quick survey, okay? All right, come on. Okay, how many of you thought you were conservative? Okay, all right. Okay, now how many of you realize from the get-go the first thing that you're actually a libertarian? From the very first thing you realize you're a libertarian. Keep your hands up. Okay, well, I was one of those few. I realized I was a libertarian from the get-go. Because you see, if you're seeking truth, if you're seeking freedom, you can't be anything but a libertarian. Libertarian, by definition, means someone who is looking for liberty. Now, the funny thing about that is that originally, there was no such thing as libertarian label. Libertarians were called liberal. Thomas Jefferson was liberal. Okay, the most libertarian president we ever had. What happened is that by the turn of the 20th century, especially by the time of Roosevelt, the socialists has stolen the label of liberal to themselves. So liberals had to come up with a new label, which eventually they came up with libertarian. Okay? And now today we got like Congressman Ron Paul, who supposedly a conservative, but as he says himself, he's really a libertarian. That's why he ran in 1988 as a Libertarian Party candidate for president, because he gets sick and tired of Republicans talking about the Constitution, talking about small government and lower taxes and regulation and control, but do the opposite when they get in power, right? So I want you to stop calling yourself liberal or conservative, because you are neither. If you're really looking for freedom, you're a libertarian. So I realized that. That was my first step of political education, was that, you know, you're looking for liberty, and they use this technique called divide and conquer. The British were great at that. They always went to a third world country or Iraq. What they do in Iraq, for example, is divide and conquer. Okay? The U.S. government doesn't want Iraqis to have peace. Because if Iraqis have peace and no civil war, guess what? There's no reason for us to stay there and build an empire and have an embassy. Was it 40 acres or 100 acres big? Which one is that? 100 acres, I heard. Literally, why does the U.S. government need an embassy 40 acres or 100? You know, it's so big. You don't need an embassy that big. That's not an embassy. You know what that is? That's a regional military headquarters to dominate the entire Middle East. That's what it is. But if you have peace among Sunnis and Shiites, you know, then we're supposed to leave, right? But what are the excuse for not leaving Iraq? Oh, if we leave, there's going to be disaster going on over there. They're going to kill each other, right? We got to stay to try to keep them from killing themselves, right? So in America and Western Europe, which have people get to vote, they deliberately create this left versus right thing. And so, of course, some people like the liberal issues like this here, good issues. Some people like the conservative issues, good issues, and then get people fighting. And they try to get you fight over the trivial issues, not so much. And on the main issues, the leaders of both these camps are bought and paid for. John McCain, Hillary Clinton, or Obama Barack hardly have a dime worth of difference. 2 cents difference here, 2 cents difference there. Right? So I got involved with the Libertarian Party, and I tried to get people to vote Libertarian as much as I could. I was a part-time activist, free, no charge, with the Libertarian Party of Orange County right here for several years. Well, then in 1992, I heard about an income tax being fraud. And there's no law requiring the average American to file and pay income tax. Well, when I was involved in the Libertarian Party, I was disappointed that people kept voting Republican or Democrat just because that's what they thought they were. So anyhow, got into the income tax issue because I went to a meeting, which I heard on radio, on KFI, in fact, and this guy claimed income tax is voluntary and he could prove it. I thought, come on. Now, quite frankly, I never really understood the income tax issue enough. Even though I was a financial planner for many years, for over 6 years, and I'd set up IRAs and KIOs for people, and I still didn't quite understand this thing because I never filed because nobody ever told me I had to. Really, honestly, true. I had all kind of jobs. Whatever they withheld my paycheck, they did, but I never filed, never got a letter from the IRS, but other people still filed. Of course, I had no parents here to guide me through. I was alone. My older brother, he didn't know what was going on either. He was an immigrant just like me. Nobody to guide him either. Funny thing is, the only time IRS told me that I owe them money is when I filed 1040 forms. I'm serious. And they took money. I filed with my ex-wife back for 1987, and on her return she said, put your name, and next year they took part of her paycheck without no warnings, no letters. Next year, and we get separated for that we filed for, we get audited, and I provide all the proof that everything is right there. All the deductions were there, so we owe you zero. And the agent says, well, I refigured that instead of $500 and change, you owe us $200 and change. And I told my ex-wife, you know what, these guys are a bunch of liars and thieves. We either owe them this money if my deductions are no good, or they're good, and we owe them zero. But I don't know nothing about how to work this IRS procedure thing. We don't have enough money to hire a professional, so I guess we better just give them the ransom just to get them off our back. Right? How many American people do that? Have you done in your life? You've done that, right? Because you don't know what to do. That's what I did. Then in 1993, I filed a 1040-NR. I was told as a patriot to do this fancy non-resident alien return to get my money back that was held back. He said he'd know how to do it right. We sat down one night. He showed three of us to do it. We did it. Okay. I trusted my friend to be knowledgeable. And as a result of that, IRS didn't like it. Then he came after me for that. Other than that, IRS has never, ever yet contacted me and said, Paymon, we think you owe us some money. Never, ever. So you go figure. Here's the thing about the income tax thing. I told the person that I went to a meeting that I will not believe anything you say until you prove it to me, and I want law. I don't want no opinion or theory, because I believe the income tax is slavery. In a free country, you will not have this slavery tax. If you slave away, work hard to give it away to the government. Okay? So, but I said, show me the law. And when I went to a meeting, I was amazed. I was absolutely floored that, wow, what they're saying is documented. For example, I remember this lady said that, Paymon, if you fill out a 1040 confession form, you've allowed the government to use that against you and give it to other foreign governments and state and local governments to use against you. And you have a Fifth Amendment guaranteed right in the Constitution to not to give anything to the government information that they may use against you. I never knew what the Fifth Amendment was. I had a degree in business administration, had two business law classes, yet I didn't know what the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution was. So I picked up my roommate's copy of his history book, and sure enough, in the back of it was a copy of the Constitution, and I read, oh, the Fifth Amendment says no person shall be compelled to give information to be witness against himself. I said, it does say that, just like she told me. Well, by golly, let me go look up this 1040 form I filled out several years ago with my ex-wife. Look at the instruction book. It does say that. It does say we may give this information to foreign governments and state and local governments. So what I give to U.S. government now, they could turn around 2 years, 5 years from now, give it to the government of Iran to use against me. Maybe they don't like me because I was born and raised in a Jewish family and a minority there, or whatever other political reasons. Why would I want to give anything that could use against me? The government itself. The form says, I declare on the penalty of perjury that everything I say is true, correct, and complete. And so, when I read that, I said, I gotta look at this thing in a lot more detail. So I did. I looked at the issue in a lot more detail, and boy, that's when the can of worms really started, because I met people that told me about the Federal Reserve System, about the New World Order, and the one world government that the super rich want to do. And I said, what? I never heard about that stuff. I mean, you could be right, but until you show me some proof, I'm not going to believe nothing. I said, so they told me, no problem, Paymon. Here, read the book. It's called Secrets of the Federal Reserve by Eustace Mullins. I said, okay, here's the money. I'll read it. I'll find out. And I read the book. My gosh, this is all documented. And so I found out in this free country, supposedly of America, we have a thing called the freedom movement. The people like you and me. I thought, oh my God, America's not as free country like they say it is. It was advertised in the world. America's a free country, a land of free, home of the brave, be all you can be. You know, the Constitution is the highest law of the land, and they cannot break it, and don't break it. Right? Wow. If it was a free country, it would not be needing a freedom movement. Right? So why would you have a freedom movement? So I said, wow. I said, this is it. I got to really get into it. Now, there was no internet back then, folks. There was no internet. So what I had to do is, back then, the patriot freedom leaders who were from different parts of the country would do seminars, do tours across the country and teach about their stuff. And they sell their books and audio tapes of the classes or videos. And I took every Tom and Dick and Harry and Mary's material I could find, live or on tape. And you know what the problem I had? The biggest problem I had? The biggest problem I had is this one person said, you got to do it this way. You got to write UCC on your thing. This other guy said, no, you got to claim that you're a sovereign state citizen, not a U.S. citizen. This other guy said that, you know, you got to get back under common law, get rid of admiralty jurisdiction. This other guy said you got to stay out, don't use zip code on your mail. And this guy said you got to reject things that come to you in capital letters instead of upper and lowercase. So all kind of theories to be free. And I thought, well, which one of these things are right? You know? You can't be, you know, Jewish, Mormon, Catholic, born-again Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, you know, Taoist all at the same time. You can't say, I'm just going to do all of them hoping one of them is right, right? So that was the most confusing part of the whole thing, which is right and which is wrong. So fortunately, I started teaching classes with a couple of my local patriots to bring our local patriot group to our level of ignorance, okay? And really, that's why I told people, look, we don't know all the answers, but we got to get you to our level at least so when the real experts come, you know enough about what's going on. And one of those guys, Ross, is here. Ross, you want to stand up? He's one of our students from our first class right there, 1994, before we even had a field note. We just got together in Anthony Hargis' office and a few people, and you know, everybody pays $5 to cover our photocopying costs and all that. So we started with that, and somebody locally who didn't want to do this patriot stuff anymore, she said, Paymon, I want to retire from this stuff. Here's a list of about 100 people. When events go on, you let them know what's going on. You mail it out to them or call them, whatever. You know, I said, you sure? I don't know anything about this stuff. I said, no, you can do it. You're great. You know, she believed in me more than I believed in myself. And he says, go ahead and do it. Here it is. You know, I said, okay, I'll do my best. So it started with all that stuff. And my other friend taught me how to use the law library. And that was the greatest gift. Because, in fact, Andrew, ask Max, do you have any law library books? Because we don't have any on the table. The law library books. Can you get them for me, please, if you would? Because what happens is that when I learned how to use the law library, I was able to go and look up and verify everybody's claims for myself. In fact, Jody, could you give me a level 1 course on the information package, please? You know, I didn't have to just rely upon this guy or the other guy or him or her. I could actually, for myself, go and read law is plain English. And I could read English and understand it. So I started doing that, and it was amazing because a lot of people claim stuff, and people still talk to me in the hallway. Paymon, what about this? What about that? I said, don't believe anything I say, or the government says, thank you, or anybody else out there in the internet. Look up and verify it for yourself. That's why in our very first course, which is called A Practical Road to Freedom, from Oppressive Taxation and Control Level 1, we call it Level 1 for short. One of the first things that I do in here, in the 9 classes that is in here, is in class 3 and 4, I spend about 5 hours showing people how to look up and verify things in a law library. Okay? And I'm serious about it. I want you to not to believe anything I say or anybody else. Check it out for yourself, because unless until you really know for yourself that what I'm telling you is the truth, you would never know, well, did I really trust him prematurely? Is it really just sounds good? Maybe you're just pulling the wool over my eye. You know, you don't know that. But once you know it, you feel like, gosh, I know it. And I know it. I know 1 + 1 is 2. Not 3, not 8, 2. Okay? And again, this is plain English. So then I shed a lot of the false theories out there, and I realized back in 1996 it was, from Dave Willington, The gentleman, you want to stand up for a second, Dave, so people can see you, who taught the class on the Constitution just yesterday, on Friday. I learned at a Free Enterprise Society paralegal meeting. They invited me to a private, small meeting that although there are, the Constitution says certain things, the problem we have in America, see, I got to level 2 of understanding about law. But before that time, I knew that in law you have some rights. I knew the Constitution was a libertarian document that guaranteed your rights. And had I stayed there and not met Dave, I would have not got to level 3. And I found the freedom because I got to level 3. And I'll tell you what that level 3 is. And most of the people in this room are not there yet. And once you get to level 3, you will start being free. It's just start. Because just knowing that we're going to get people in office like Ron Paul is just a start. Knowing the Constitution guarantees your right is just a start. You still don't know what to do enough until you get to level 3. What Dave told me, Paymon, there exists a judicial conspiracy to protect and preserve the federal income tax. What that means basically is no government paid, no government biased judge will ever rule in any kind of a court case of any kind that the income tax does not apply to the average working American, no matter what your reason is, no matter how good your reason is. Just won't do it. They don't want to upset the apple cart that the United States government, the biggest corporation in the world, the most powerful empire who has ever existed on the face of the earth, militarily and economically, has been ripping off its own citizens for decades of trillions of dollars by fraud and deceit and force, and have been jailing tens of thousands of people in violation of the law. They don't want to do it. With the judges' cooperation and active participation, they will not do it because judges are political animals. See, what I realized at the time, there's a saying, they've taken a survey of the American people, and the survey shows that the American people have the lowest regard of all occupations. At the bottom is used car salesman, right? Above that is just salesmen in general, politicians, and lawyers. That's just the way it is, okay? Whether you agree with it or not, but that's the generality. Now, average American, the survey will, who do you respect the most? You regard as being most honest and respectable and truthful. They think about their doctor, who takes care of their health, right? Their clergy, who's supposed to be their priest, who's supposed to be their connection to God. And you know who was above the doctor and the clergy? The judges. Roster, because he's our student. The judges. But what's a judge? A judge is merely a lawyer at the bottom of the rank who is also a politician. Yeah. You know how you get to be a judge? They don't appoint judges in America because this guy is such a good lawyer. He knows the law so well. He is of so high moral character. Oh no. That's the theory how judges are supposed to be put in office. The way it's actually done is, look, buddy, I'm sick and tired as a lawyer to go chasing ambulances or find clients to suit somebody else and don't pay me and all this stuff, hard work. I want a good, respectable job that people, respect me. I got guaranteed salary, comfortable life, best pensions, best vacation. Everybody respects me, work only 5 days a week. Nobody can tell me anything. And in fact, everybody respects me. They call me Your Honor. Isn't that nice? That's not nice to call you Your Honor, huh? You respect me, he is a judge. Ooh, it's got a ring to it, right? Like you're a judge. You're better than everybody else, right? So to get that, though, what you got to do, you got to grease the palm of your buddy politician. So you raise money for your buddy who wants to become an office, raise money for him, and then when you do that, the payback is, hey, I'm a politician. I'm going to nominate you as a judge. Or I'm going to recommend you to my friend to nominate you as a judge. That's how the judges are elected into office. Because that's why those of you who've been in the court, you see how the judges are corrupt. Not just inept, corrupt, okay? Half the federal judges are drunks, alcoholics. This is documented facts. Is because of this. So these guys know the score. If they want to go to a higher level judgeship to be a court of appeal judge or Supreme Court judge of the state, later maybe become a federal judge, trial level, go to appeal judge, and the Supreme Court maybe someday, which they want to be, guess what they're going to have to do? They're going to have to go along to get along with their politician's buddy. Okay? They have to go along to get along. And don't upset the apple cart. You don't, when the government comes through, you don't just say, hey, the Constitution says this, and that's it, and the story, let's go. You say, well, see if I can interpret the case law, the court, the statutes, the Constitution, in a way not to embarrass my friends in the sister branch of government, the legislature, and surely my executive branch buddy here, the government lawyer, prosecutor who wants to put this poor soul in jail or whatever, right? So they bend for them. See, we got to realize that's the reality of it, folks. Until I came to that realization, I realized someone told me, Payman, that better than half the judges were former prosecutors. The guy that tried to put you in jail is in 1 month is the guy to put you in jail. Next month he's the judge. Okay? And prosecutors, how they get to be judges, what can they show to become good judges? The one public thing all prosecutors and judges would want to do? They want to show that they're tough on crime. Tough on crime. So if a guy wants to run for office and because he said, hey, look, cop, you did things wrong, you violated the Constitution against that suspected criminal, therefore the guy walks away as a punishment for the government not to do it again. What they do, they portray that judge in the media as soft on crime judge. Okay, so if you respect the Constitution, they paint you as soft on crime. Okay, everyone wants good conservative law and order judges, right? So that's how they sell it to the American people. So I realized that, well, that's the case. Then I went back to level 1. I said, okay. So basically, America is not different from former Soviet Union. Joseph Stalin was told that he was a dictator of Soviet Union. That Stalin, the Pope, he has about 1 billion followers in the world that are Catholic like him. You know what Stalin's answer was? How many tank divisions did you say Stalin have? He didn't care. So who cares if he has 1 billion followers? I got the power. I got the gun. I got the tanks. That's what matters. And so in the freedom movement, I realized that the number one thing that's going on that gets people into trouble is that somehow they're looking for a silver bullet way out. Do this, I get out of their jurisdiction. Do that, I'll get out of their system. Do this, they just refund the tax that they took from me last year by fraud, and they're going to give it back to me. Do that, they're going to leave me alone. Everybody's looking for that. And that'd be wonderful, okay? That's just the same as those diet pills. Take this pill, and you'll lose all the weight and be beautiful like an athlete and healthy, right? Heard about that stuff? Oh, on top of that, it's multi-level. You get to make money off it too, right? Folks, there's nothing that replaces good nutrition and exercise, if you want to be healthy. Bottom line, a couple of people told me at this conference, where do you get all the energy Payman at age 45? I said, I guess I eat well and exercise. I don't exercise enough, but I really watch what I eat, I guess it does make a difference, There is no quick answer, folks. I want to eat a lot of junk food that everybody else wants to eat out there, but I know if I do, I'm going to pay for it the other way. There's no easy way, folks. There's no easy way to health, wealth, or freedom. Right? Everybody wants health, wealth, and freedom. But to get any of those things, you've got to pay your price. Because there is one thing I learned from libertarians is there is no such thing as a free lunch. Okay? Remember that? There is no such thing as a free lunch. If you get that mentality, folks, I guarantee you, your chance of being healthy, wealthier, successful in life automatically just doubles. Because your perspective is going to change, and you're not going to look for a silver bullet. You're going to realize that life is about paying a price. Somehow, now or later. Okay? Now, most people choose to pay the price of slavery, being unhealthy, being poor, because they don't want to work hard. They don't want to be smart. They don't want to risk things. They don't want to go out of their comfort zone and talk to a bunch of people about 9/11 or income tax fraud or Federal Reserve because they're afraid to get rejected. Okay, I heard that from people. Oh, I'm not a good salesman. I got another person telling me that today. Said, you haven't tried enough. One thing I learned in sales, which was a hard lesson in reality, was, if you're in sales, do not answer this question in the audience, okay? What's the salesman that makes the most sales? Any non-salesman know the answer? It's the one that gets the most no's. Because the one that gets the most no's, the one that tried and failed and got his nose bloodied and got his ego hurt and felt terrible, but kept trying and got better, got smarter, and eventually got to be really good. Okay? That works with everything in life, And so the mentality we want things easy, I think, is the biggest challenge to us as Americans and as patriots. Okay? Now, me coming from a third world country, really looking for the American dream, because America is, again, land of milk and honey, be all you can be. John Wayne, Western movies, and Clint Eastwood, right? You can be free as long as you don't mess with other people, right? That's how I was told, at least. I figured I'm going to work hard. So I got into freedom and I said, no, I'm going to pay my price. When I was single. So when I was single, I'm married now with 4 kids. I work 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week. And I'm not exaggerating. I literally work 80 to 90 hours a week. I did 5 days at home. For several years, I traveled on the weekends. Friday, teach a seminar in this city. Saturday, this seminar in this city. Sunday, this other place. Get back home Sunday night, or who knows, 2 o'clock in the morning Monday. Start all over again. Maybe take 1 week off, a weekend off per month. I did that for like about 4 or 5 years. Okay? Because I knew that there's nothing going to come easy. If you work hard, it'll come. So I'm telling you, folks, the good thing about freedom is if you're willing to pay a price for it, you will get there. You're going to pay the price now or later. Now, the thing, what I did for me is, as I learned what was going on back there, is I went and taught the classes to my fellow patriots in a local class. And those classes that I did developed into the level 1 course. It was a once-a-week class for 9 weeks, teaching about a bunch of stuff that we knew about law. Well, what happened, and by the way, IRS has this, okay, this course, okay? They have bought it from me at least one time, just so you know. They're some of my best students. They come and spy on me, They come to my classes. Oh, great, here. He doesn't know I know he's a government spy, But go ahead, great. We need all kinds of subsidy, even including the government, So they look at this. We're just trying to educate people. That's what it's about. That's why they cannot use it against me, because it's all trying to empower people to live free. So when we did the level 1 classes, I found out, wow, there's more that I could learn. And I did learn that I brought other experts like Dave Wellington and Sean O'Connor and Vern Holland and others to teach classes for us and to bring that to the American people, the patriots who were looking for it. But what really shocked me was the fact that the average American is completely clueless and uninterested in the truth. That was the hard part. Because why wouldn't people not want to lead a better life? Why wouldn't people care about truth, freedom, justice, find out what's going on around them with their public servants and government? Because I realized that to most people, the government, in their mind, in their hearts, is like their mommy or their daddy. You gotta realize that when you go talk to your friends and neighbors while they're not interested in this stuff, what you tell them when you say, look at 911 was an inside job, and I believe that 9/11 was an inside job, but you don't start with that off the bat necessarily, because it's like telling the average person, or income tax is a giant, there's no law requirement to file for income tax. And when you say that to somebody, to them it's like saying, my mommy is a criminal, he's a murderer, my dad was a cut people's chops arms off, not my mom, not my dad. That's the way they think. I was talking to a friend's sister about Bill Clinton being a criminal, and I told him about Clinton Chronicles, a DVD you can see on YouTube, Clinton Chronicles, that shows what the absolute criminals and murderers the Clintons are. You know what her response was? Wow, I didn't know that. I had no reason to doubt my president. Notice the choice of words. To doubt my president. Oh, as if she chose Clinton in office, as if it was her mommy or daddy. You know, people took it like it's my president, like it's my mom, my dad. No, that president is somebody that a bunch of people voted for. The big banks and corporations nominated all the top people, and whichever one gets into office, with the exception of people like Ron Paul, they're all a bunch of same, right? So they don't know that, though. You know, they're busy watching football and soap operas. You know, they're happy. You know, just like they say, you keep someone busy, and as you're doing that, you rob in their pocket. Oh, isn't that great? Yeah, look at that. You know, as you do that, they're tying your hands up with laws. Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah, oh, it's so great. Look, he just scored a bunch of points. Oh, isn't she pretty? Oh, he's a handsome guy, isn't he? You know? While they're robbing you and controlling you. That's the American people. They don't realize it. And as you heard Mike Piper tell you earlier, the major media is controlled. The bankers discovered a long time ago that if they want to control America and the world, you got to have your slaves be happy. It's hard to keep people enslaved if they're unhappy, if they want to fight you. Look at what's going on in Iraq. They're unhappy about the American invaders taking over the country. So they're trying to kick the American army out, right? Because obviously the American empire invaded their country. We'd be doing the same if China was here, right? For our own good, they claim, right? So they want to kick us out of there. So in America, they realized that what we got to do, we got to buy the major media. And it was Ted Garrison can correct me on this, Ted, but it was in early 20th century. The bankers they found out that if they buy the 25 major dominant newspapers of the time, and there was no TV and there was no radio, if they buy these 25 major newspapers in America, like New York Times, the Washington Post, you know, and San Francisco Chronicle, whatever they were, that they controlled what the other papers in the country put out, because the other papers get their newspaper generally from the bigger papers. They control better than 80% of what people see at that time. Now, since then, the media had become more concentrated even. Okay? They got really bad in the 1970s, I believe. You know, and when you had only the three major networks, because if it's not an ABC or CBS or ABC, it doesn't exist. Now we have much more different satellite and different alternatives on TV, but we got the internet and YouTube, okay, and email. A whole new opening has come now for us to reach each other. Because folks, most of you felt like lone wolves where you live with your friends and neighbors, right? Nobody understands this stuff. You come here, you see, wow, there's lots of other freedom lovers like you out there who care about truth, freedom, and justice that you can get involved with and associate with and work together, okay? But you don't know each other. The small groups of banks and corporations, they know each other. They work together. They cooperate together. But us, we're like grassroots spurting here. Grass comes up here. Some grass comes here, comes there. And we need to tie into each other to support each other, become stronger knots, right? With one finger, you cannot push through a wall. But if you put 10 together, now you got a better chance, right? So that's what needs to happen more. But is we get involved like this. But that's why the First Amendment of the Constitution was put in there. The First Amendment guarantees the right to free religion, right to free speech, right to assemble like we're doing, to gather around and talk about the problems with our government, a right to publish information on internet or material, to speak out about it, and to get together and come up with ways that we can change things, improve things, and stop government corruption. That's called the redress of grievance. Grievances are complaints against the government, and we want to correct them, redress them. So we can do all that, but we cannot really do it effectively unless and until we have more educated leaders. What did Clinton, Obama, and McCain have in common? They're all ignorant leaders. They're ignorant. They don't know. They've been put up by the powers to be. Now, imagine they're corrupt too. Now, corruption. We know McCain and Clinton are definitely corrupt. They're very documented corrupt. Obama, he's younger. We don't know. He could be, but he doesn't have a proven track record of corruptness yet. We'll see, okay? But probably he is too. But we got to change that with honest leaders who are educated. Take Ron Paul, for example. Ron Paul was a medical doctor who learned about economics and found out that we don't have free enterprise in America. Kind of like I learned that in university and said, oh, well, we got to get back to the roots of freedom in America. And started advocating that and ran for Congress. Ran for Congress in the late 70s and early 80s. Then ran for Senate. That didn't work. They ran for as a Libertarian for president. Then eventually, on encouragement of others, went back to Congress again. Now he's running for president. He's surprised, my gosh, so many people who are not happy about the way things are. He's been in Congress, folks, in and out for most of the 30 years. He's been in there fighting the battle. Educated and enlightened man. And he's been in the trenches and not given up. Did he win in all these 30 years? No. He made some progress. He won some things, but he didn't finish it. Well, we need more Ron Pauls. And more Ron Pauls start from each and every one of you to become better, smarter, stronger, better strategy to do that. Well, that's why one of the things we want to do, for example, if you have not signed up to get on our email list, please do so. If you're not 100% sure we have the email and mailing address at the front desk today, make sure you put it out there because we can bypass the major media through our email network. We send an email out to you, you send it to your group of 10 friends or 100 friends. What you want to do, you start gathering the emails of your friends and contacts. So when you get an email about what's going on about this stuff, your group of friends could be 5 emails. I don't care. Or 50 emails. Or more. Whatever it is, you can forward it to them and say, hey, check this out. Okay? And some of your friends will say, oh, wow, this is interesting. Some of them will look at some of the emails. You can send me a link to YouTube. Hey, watch this thing about Ron Paul. Watch this thing about Clinton, who you think is so good. Okay? Or watch this thing about real ID or income tax or Federal Reserve. Then they'll say, oh, wow, I didn't know that. We got to get in the 21st century. Those of you who don't have computers, don't have access to internet, you got to get one. I'm being flat honest with you. I don't care how old you are. Those of your grandparents, get your grandkids to get your computer, okay? To show you how to use it. When I did back in 1996, 97, when I didn't know how to use a computer very well, I just got a local teenager. I'm not kidding you. I told my neighbor friend, hey, help me with my computer stuff because the teenagers all know how to use computers. He said, I'm not interested, but I'll find you another one. So guess what? Next week I was walking and said, hey, Paymon, you still looking for a computer guy? Yeah. Here, hire this guy. He went up, talked to him, said, you're hired. Okay? And he showed me how to use a computer. Very easy to do. Okay? It's like living in the 1940s without a telephone. You could do it in the 1940s without a telephone. You could. But not like with phone, telephone. You see what I'm saying? So, because that's the way that we need to get going in America is to battle the communication warfare. The other thing we need to do is become more aware, understanding of the law and our rights and economics. If you don't understand law and some basic economics, you don't know what's going on out there. You don't know what's going to affect you that could destroy you. Tonight, those of you come to banquet dinner will hear from Ed Griffin about the Federal Reserve banking system, for example. But he's not going to give you any solutions because his talk is only an hour and 20 minutes long approximately. And that's why this time, for the first time, Monday, I did a class which I've been meaning to do for several years for you guys. A class on the economics from a freedom, patriot point of view. How does the Federal Reserve actually affect things? How do they actually create money that causes unemployment so you lose your job, so that you end up losing your business, and you end up losing all your investments? Or if you know how to use it right, in your favor, you understand how it works, you'll keep your job or be in a better job that you can keep that will not be fired, and your business will do well, or to get into another business that will do well, and your investments will be different ones that actually work better. Okay? So after several years of delay, because I've been so busy, I finally got one started this Monday. And I hope many of you will come to that because, folks, we are overdue, and I mean overdue, for a Great Depression. Look at history of America. About every 50 years, we've had a Great depression of some sort. From 1933 till 2008, it's been how many years? 75 years. We're overdue. Guess what happens when you overdo for something? When it comes, it'll come with vengeance. Okay? And this time, it will come with a vengeance. In 1930s, you had unemployment rate was 25%. 1 out of 4 Americans was unemployed. 1 out of 4 people in this room didn't have a way to feed themselves. Okay? So we are in for a Great Depression and inflation at the same time. You're already starting to see it. Gas prices are over $3.50 a gallon in California, right? Oil went from $30 a barrel a few years ago down to over $100 a barrel, right? Gold was at $250 an ounce. Now it's at about $1,000 an ounce. And bread, everything's going up. Things are going to be hard. If you don't understand the basis of that, folks, you're going to get hurt. I'm sorry. But you got to take responsibility. Every one of us. I got to do it. You got to do it. Take responsibility for our lives. When we turn 18 years old, we're supposed to know a little bit about how the economic system works, how the world works, the New World Order works, the banking system, how it works, how the political system works, the judicial system works, and how they affect us. So if the policeman stops you and says, let me see your driver's license because I'm going to give you a ticket, the guy got a gun in his holster. You know what you can and cannot do. When the IRS writes a letter to you, you know what to respond or not to respond. Sorry. That's the way it is. When you turn 18, you're dumped in the game of economic survival and law. And you got to know that. That's why I started Freedom Law School teaching that, and without having silver bullets. Because, folks, there is no silver bullets. Income tax is fraud. There is no law, I believe, that requires the average American to file an income tax. Okay? And check it out for yourself. Don't believe me. Go, you heard Tommy Cryer. Listen to Joe Bannister. That's why we give away his speech for you for free. If you didn't get the free education information package and we give away at Freedom Law School, go get it. Study it. And go further to the sources. Here it is. You're going to hear from Joe Bannister tomorrow. Okay? The IRS agent exposed IRS fraud. The IRS has never, ever refuted him. Why? Because they cannot. They tried to put him in jail to shut him up. They couldn't. Okay? They tried to come after me. They backed off. Okay? We have that on our website. They tried to accuse me of being an abusive tax shelter promoter back in 2003. Then they backed off after a few months. Okay? And folks, the other thing is the landscape of the freedom movement has really changed big time. The IRS successfully either put a few organizations in jail in America since 2001, but just about 95% of them plus. They didn't put them in jail. It was too much work. They don't like criminal prosecutions. They really don't. It's too much work. What they did is they came up with a phony excuse saying that these people that talk about income tax fraud and lies of the government are somehow promoting an abusive tax shelter promotion, to cheat the poor old government of tax money that they need so badly. That's how Bill Benson, that you heard Jeff Dickstown talk about this morning. That's how they try to take his right to free speech away. To the government, their money is so important, that they're willing to destroy the Constitution. They're saying that the Secretary of State Knox in 1913, that the 16th Amendment that created income tax, supposedly, was ratified, is end of story. So the actual documented proof that the 16th Amendment was not ratified, but all the various states who, according to the Constitution, must, 3/4 of them ratify the 16th Amendment. The fact that we got documented proof of that, notarized documents from the counties, the states, it doesn't matter. You cannot bring that as a defense. Even though the courts later on said, the same courts have said in a case called Miller, that why these patriots bringing these cases to the courts, they should find another better venue to talk about it. Well, Bill Benson did that, took it to the American public with his material about 16th Amendment not being ratified, and they're saying that, that doesn't matter. You cannot bring that for your defense. The truth is not defense. We will not let you bring your version because we said the truth is this. Yeah. And you know what? The judge in Bill Benson case who threw him in jail over income taxes about in 1988, I think it was, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong on that. He told him that I hope America you have some opinions, you have some foundings in your books, and I hope America will never become a country that American people cannot bring about these issues and talk about them. The judge said that, Steve, didn't he? Basically. And guess what? 20 years later, another federal judge did exactly what the other judge 20 years ago feared. Now, Bill Benson, cannot say that 16th Amendment, the income tax amendment, wasn't ratified because the holy system of government power structure, the holy priest gods of the system, the judges have declared that that's not the case. It was ratified, end of story, and you should know, and why? Because Billson should know or had reason to know. Look at the wording, reason to know this was false. What does reason to know mean? What the heck is reason to know? You had reason to think about that for a second. What they mean is that you have reason to know because we, the gods of the system, the priest, said that sky is yellow, therefore it's yellow. You tell, look outside, it's blue, doesn't matter. That's not a defense. You got proof 16th Amendment wasn't ratified, not a defense. Can I bring it up? That's what's going on. So what I'm saying is, basically, folks, we are overdue for a revolution. That's what I'm saying. We are overdue for a revolution. Thomas Jefferson, second president of the United States, the author of the Declaration of Independence, said that every 20 years you need to have a revolution to clean out the government. We haven't had one in over 20 years. Now, although we definitely as American people have a right of defensive violence, just like the Founding Fathers did, they picked up the guns and shoot the enemy, the government officials who became enemy of the people, the redcoats, the King of England, King George. We have that right, no doubt about it. I think the timing is not right because not enough of our brothers and sisters know that there's a problem even. Our neighbors don't know there's a problem even. Okay? If they're happy, they kept busy while they're being ripped off and they're being tied down, right? So that's why, rather than go pick up a gun and shooting at somebody or be shot back at, folks, get information out to your friends, neighbors, or coworkers. That's why everybody here got this free education information package. What is it? It's the Freedom Catalog of Freedom Law School. Okay? I'm proud after all these years, if I put a good-looking catalog there, I think give it to somebody that looks respectable. Because most patriot groups never had anything decent looking. So give something nice to them, and that's why we've given over 25,000 copies of Joe Barron's Speech on Income Tax for free. I lost count with the numbers. I know it's over 25,000. Give it to your friends, but don't you tell your friends there's no law requiring them to file and pay income tax. That's my friend's problem. He says, I talk to people, but they don't listen to me because he tells them too much. Don't tell them that. Tell them, do you love or hate the IRS? Do you hate them? Right? Well, this former IRS agent is telling you how the government's defrauding you. He was a guy who used to put people in jail, a criminal investigation division agent, okay? If you want to know what's going on, okay, listen to that. Here's some information about it. I'll talk to you later. Call me about it later. That's it. That's what needs to happen, Dave. Okay? Because if they're interested, the guy's saying, I'm afraid of the IRS. I hate them. Believe me, a lot of people hate the IRS. He's going to listen to it. And a percentage of those people will call you. I heard your thing, and boy, that's pretty interesting, but I'm afraid. But, well, okay, now you can talk a little bit more. You see what I'm saying? But don't you just shove it down the throat. Don't give a baby steak. Give it milk first. This is milk to start him up. With this credibility, okay? I've been a former gun-carrying IRS special agent. He starts him up. He won't tell him what to do, which is good. He leaves them excited, leaves them curious. Well, where do I go? Well, fine. Look in the catalog some more. You know what? His teacher, you don't know, is Payman Motahede. President of Freedom Law School. He got this other CD, listen to him. He got some information, and he listens to that, and goes to our website and check things out. And now they're going to start going forward. You see what I'm saying? So you open people's mind is the first thing. So the same energy you would put out to shoot a criminal, put it into just reaching out to your friends and neighbors. That's why the citizen rule books, the copy of the Constitution, okay, and the Declaration of Independence, we're giving it away. We want you to take it. Give it to your friends. Educate them about what the U.S. Constitution and the Declaration of Independence actually say for themselves. Okay? And they get interested. Wow, I never read that. Well, what do I do? Oh, hey, in the beginning it says Freedom Law School. They got their information here. I guess I'll call those guys. Right? And we're going to educate them some more. That's our job. That's our job to do that. And if you believe in the work that we do, folks, you want to help us get it out there, let's do that. Because people sell this. I used to sell this book for $2 a piece 14 years ago. It was worth $2. Now it's worth more, okay? But we got to get this stuff out there, folks, because the best tool we have in our hand is what? The truth. The truth. They got the power, they got the money. They go buy people. You know what? These government officials make so much money. They got the best paying jobs, best benefits, best retirement packages. They got every holiday off. Nobody has pensions in America anymore. Nobody, basically, except government workers or some defense contractors, right? Nobody can afford it. No company can afford it. Airlines are getting rid of their employees' pensions, right? Big automobile companies are going broke because they cannot afford the pensions and health insurance of their employees, right? But the government people get all of it. So these people go get a government job because it's the job, and a lot of them just don't care. I have a teacher next to me in a plane who admitted to me that she don't care if the money's being government's taken from me illegally. As long as she gets paid, she's happy. Yeah, she didn't want to hear anything more about it. There's people out there, folks, okay? So just talk. Oh, so you know what I did after I heard that from her? I said, great. I'm going to, in this flight, I'm going to read. I'm not going to talk to her. One no, more yeses coming. Okay? That's how you got to treat it. You got to get a bunch of no's and then get yeses. Okay? If you're not, talk to some salesman here in this group, in this meeting, who'll tell you about it.
All right, folks, I just was talking about how important it is that we all take the responsibility of blowing the trumpet or ringing the bell or whatever it takes to get people to awaken from their, shall we say, video candy-induced slumber and become active participants in this great democracy. I hate using that term democracy because we all know it's not a democracy, it's a republic. But if they call it a democracy, well, then we'll call it a democracy. But it's only going to work unless people get actively involved and participate. And unfortunately, we've all been brainwashed into not participating. Well, not you, because you wouldn't be here if you had been brainwashed. Or maybe you were brainwashed and got unbrainwashed. But the point is, whatever reason that has brought you here, we've got to figure out what that reason is and reproduce it so more people can be here. And also so more people in this country can awaken and understand the responsibility that we all have to save this country. And it doesn't make any difference what your background is. And again, I'll reiterate, I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care about your political beliefs, philosophical or religious beliefs. We all better get over our differences. And I know that there are some folks in this room right now that are having a very difficult time with that particular concept. Well, we can either get over it, you know, divided we fall or united we stand. The choice is ours. But as I mentioned, there are many people that do blow the trumpet, do scream, do holler. And one of the people that has been doing this for quite a long time is a person whose heritage you wouldn't think would instill him with this kind of behavior. And of course, you all know somebody out there in your family that sings, "I'm proud to be an American, where I get to think I'm free. And I've all but forgotten the ones who died that gave that right to me, and I just won't stand up next to you, because I don't have much to say." Kind of goofy, wouldn't you say? Anyway, we've all got to be able to understand how, you know, go ahead, chuckle, go ahead, laugh. Just don't point while you're doing it, that's all. But anyway, we all know how important it is to be blowing the trumpet, ringing the bell, and doing all that kind of stuff. And this gentleman, like I said, his heritage and his background and his nationality isn't about ringing the bell and doing what we all think of as patriotic Americans, and yet his activities, his actions are more patriotic than most of the people that I've come in contact with in my lifetime. And so let's give him the respect and a round of applause that he is so deserved of. The founder and organizer of this event, Mr. Payman Matahede.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave, for that introduction. I appreciate that. Before I go on with the topic of my speech, I'd like to just make mention that some of you have been asking about Rodney Stitch, a great man, a whistleblower, a former Federal Aviation Administration investigator who came across government corruption in FAA, and then the other whistleblowers came to him, and he documented many other corruptions within many federal government agencies out there, and he discovered treason at the highest levels of the U.S. government, executive branch, the judiciary, the judges, all the way up to the Supreme Court, the congressmen. And he cannot be here, unfortunately, because Glenda, his lady friend, unfortunately has cancer, and it got turned for the worst. And we thought he might be able to make it with her this weekend, but unfortunately he notified me last week that he couldn't make it. So we're all with him and with Glenda. We wish the best for her. Hopefully she'll survive this, and we can have Rodney with us also soon, because he's, like I said, he's 85 years old, although he takes care of himself well. So that's why he's not here, and he really wanted to be with you. However, what you could do, if you want to hear what he has to say, you can go to his website, defraudingamerica.com. That's one website of him, just like it sounds, Defrauding America, or CIAdrugs.com. That's my favorite. It's easy to remember because he's been exposing CIA drug running into the United States of America. In fact, we have a CD of his speech also at our previous conference at our table available for free. You know, Andrew's holding it up, so you can go to Freedom Law School table right there and pick one of the copies of his speech at our previous conference. And also go to the archives of Freedom Law School's in a radio program. Sunday night at 8 o'clock Pacific time zone, we have a radio program for 2 hours. 8 o'clock Pacific time, 10 o'clock Central time zone. And I had Rodney on there for about 8 weeks solid to just to document on audio CD all the incredible things that he's documented about government corruption of the U.S. government at the highest levels for decades. Decades, folks. So go to With the People Radio Network's website, WTPRN.com. That's WTPRN.com. The archives of our Freedom Law School's radio program, or Freedom Law School at livefreenow.org. And the archives we have there also, you'll find the interviews with Rodney Stitch. Because then we had him here, hopefully, but next time, hopefully, we'll have Rodney with us. Okay, the topic of my speech is about how to live free of IRS robbery, fear, and harassment, and restore freedom for all of us individually, as well as the people. And it's all intertwined, folks. It's all intertwined. If you're not free, you know, the country is not free, because we all got to be free. If the country is not free, you're not free. So my focus has always been to, at the same time that we work to have our freedoms of all of us be expanded and returned to us, to work on helping the individuals get their own individual freedom. Because, look, there's 300 million Americans. You all have your own personal battles. Sometimes the police is harassing you. It's a bureaucrat or IRS or state income tax agency or some corrupt judge or whatever it may be. And believe me, I've battled all those, okay, from the corrupt policemen. I've come across that just lie, to the IRS agents who are inept, to a crooked judge who dishonors his robe and his oath and becomes a criminal from the bench under the guise of being a holy priest of the system who is there to protect the system, but he's not. So what I want to share with you is in this Freedom Catalog, and Andrew, could you make sure to get some from outside? Everybody has one in a minute. What I'm going to do in a minute now is make sure that all of you have this free education information package of Freedom Law School. This is just the envelope for it, but it includes our Freedom Catalog, Freedom 2007 Freedom Catalog. So if you don't have one, raise your hand, and they're going to make sure that you get one, because I'm going to go through a presentation, some of the basics of this. Some of you that might have heard this information before, some of you not. But even if you heard it before, let me tell you this. You may not have heard it quite this way. So if you heard it before, let me suggest that you listen to this, so when you want to talk to your friend about the catalog, you know how to present it to your friend. So don't think about it just for yourself. If you're a pro-experienced guy in a movement about this, see how you can use this catalog to open up the minds of your friends and neighbors, okay? Of course, we give, as a standard, along with this Freedom Catalog, the story of how Freedom Law School beat the IRS without going to court. They try to accuse me of being an abusive tax shelter promoter. That was in April 2003. And by July 03, they apologized and left me alone and said, oh, sorry, we used the wrong form letter on you. And there are form letters, really. And, of course, we talk about Joe Bannister's victory beating the IRS in court, where they try to shut him up about exposing IRS lies and fraud. And, of course, we start the back of our catalog that we have with Joe Bannister as a former IRS special agent, gun-carrying criminal investigator, fraud expert, exposing the IRS's fraud on the American people. So this kind of goes as an update, so to speak, on that issue. And the speech of Joe Bannister at our 2000 conference, this is the one that you see at our website on the front page, the video of it. This is probably, well, I know this. This is actually the best speech of Joe Bannister available of all the speeches he's always given. This is the best. Because I tell you what, I'd made sure in 2000 he had plenty of time to give his own information, not cut short of 50 minutes like he had to do here. And he had less of a story to tell. It was shorter too. But the basics of his heroic adventure against IRS lies and deception of American people is already in here. And of course, I have a speech of myself about how we want to work with you to restore freedom in this CD called Freedom Opportunity. Now, we will always send you more free information package if you just ask us. The stuff you see at our table, we'll send you the speech of Rodney Stitch, as I mentioned. We'll send you Ed Griffin's speech on the Federal Reserve banking system, how that's a fraud, unconstitutional fraud on American people. We'll send you the law by Frederick Bastiat about what true government's all about. That Ed Griffin read the whole thing on audio CD. And the Ted Gunderson, former head of FBI, LA and Dallas offices, which you heard from today, his speech at one of our 2003 conference, and the citizen rule books, the constitutional books, all this we want you to have. We definitely want you to have the citizen rule books too, okay? Just people ask, but the standard we're sending at least what I just showed you here, because that's just a starter, because after all, Freedom Law School is just what the name says, a school. We're here to help educate yourself. I mean help educate yourself because really, folks, nobody educates you but yourself. Really, a teacher is only an assistant, a coach. If you don't want to run and exercise and what the coach tells you to catch the ball, no matter how much he tells you, it won't happen. Same thing with studying the freedom stuff. So everybody got the catalog? Okay, now let's go to the back. The back of the catalog is perhaps the most important because that's where you start a conversation with your friend. If you're going to talk to a friend out there about IRS, so right now, tax time, by April 15th is a great time. Say, hey, Joe, Steve, whatever, Dave, do you love or hate the IRS? Just like that. You can go to him, hey, Dave, do you love or hate the IRS? Well, what kind of reaction are you going to get? Very unlikely you're going to get a yes. Okay? If you get a yes, it's going to be a facetious yes. Well, yes, but well, come on. they don't mean it, right? Of course, well, nobody likes the IRS. If they say, well, it's my patriotic duty and they're wonderful people, all that stuff, well, okay, fine. Do you want to know how they're lying to the American people and you? Again, what you do, you notice I asked questions. Write that down. You don't tell people what to do. Most patriots just tell people stuff. Don't tell them. Ask questions first, okay? Ask questions, okay? You know, so do you love or hate the IRS? It brings up the feeling that, of course, most people do not like the IRS. They don't like the income tax for some reason or another, okay? And if they want to know if the IRS is lying to them, well, many people will tell you, well, I'm interested to hear more. Okay, well, I'll tell you what. This guy was a former gun-carrying IRS special agent with the Criminal Investigation Division of the IRS. In fact, he was a fraud expert. And he found out the IRS is the one that's defrauding the American people. And because of that, he confronted the IRS, ended up leaving them a high-paying job just to expose the fraud to the American people. This is his stories in here, and here's his copy of his speech, 80 minutes long. So, you want to listen to it? I can lend it to you. All right, very good. Now let's get back to we're talking about the party tomorrow night. Got it? You don't dwell on it, okay? Just tease them enough, give them something. You know, when they got it, they'll come back. If they ask you more, fine, you can have a little bit more. But the main thing is that most patriots make a mistake of telling the story themselves out of your mouth. Okay? Let Joe Bannister tell the story out of his mouth. Okay? He'll convince them a lot better than you will. So, and then once you go in the catalog, of course, that directs them to page, inside to page 4 of the catalog. So go to page 4. Okay? And you see on page 4, of course, talks about Joe Bannister's story, a little, and about with We the People Foundation, okay, and Freedom to Fascism, American Freedom to Fascism, gives the websites of all of them, right, for more information. And it's good. We want them to go to these websites and educate themselves, right? If you're a jury, you have a right and a duty to look at all the facts, except the jury the way we have in our court system. In our court system, the judges kick the jury out, and they talk to the lawyers and parties. Well, you're not going to show that to my jury. I'm going to keep that stuff out. See, and the poor jury comes back not knowing that important evidence has been withheld from them. Well, so you make sure you don't do that to yourself, okay? And the people that we give this stuff to, we want them to get the truth to themselves, so we give the websites. And then there's a $300,000 income tax reward. Now, that's another way you could start a web with somebody. Says, look, buddy, I need some money badly, don't you? I could use $300,000. I'm willing to split it with you if you can do this thing, okay? Why don't you look at it, because I've been trying to collect this thing. I just darn can't do it. It's been going on since 1999. This reward for 9 years. IRS knows about it, but no IRS agent, lawyer, government, judge has ever attempted to claim this reward. I just can't figure out why. Why do you think that would be? Again, you end with a question, right? So that's the trick. That's the technique. You end with a question, make them think, be quiet, and just say, just listen, right? You know, when you listen, they'll talk. Don't worry about the silence. That's how it goes. So that's one. And then the next page, if you go after they read all that, is page 6 and 7 of the catalog. And page 6 and 7 gets rid of one of the biggest myths in America. The myth is that if you don't file a 1040 income tax confession form, you're going to go to jail. Wrong. You can go to jail whether you file or don't. But your chances of going to jail are far higher if you do file. Now, the numbers I put in this catalog, I found out later on, after I printed it, that the numbers are actually lower. The Department of Justice and United States Attorney's numbers and the courts say the IRS numbers are inflated. Okay? So these numbers are high. But basically, the IRS claims that every year they prosecute in jail about, on the average, about 2,000 people a year, roughly. and they jail about 200 people who don't file. Okay? Well, if you take 200 from 2,000, that leaves you about 1,800 people a year who go to jail who actually file. Most people that go to jail are people who file 1040 income tax confession form. Isn't that amazing? And people, they would just not believe it. Well, I gave the exact website address where I found this information, where I put it in the catalog. It's there. Go check it out. And they can go there, and newest numbers will be there. And let me tell you, I put 3 years in here, 2004, 5, and 6. The pattern is same. This is historically, most people they put in jail are filers. Okay? I'm going to come back to that in a minute and tell you why. Okay? You'll understand it. But let's go on. Let's go on in this to page, and the next page is page 8 and 9. Because the next question people come to the mind, they ask you, well, but most everybody files. I mean, you know, so non-filers are so small anyhow, so that's why so few of them go to jail. Well, when you go to page 8 and 9, you see on page 8 there's a reprint of a letter written by the IRS in 1998. And what they say in there is that based upon IRS's estimates in 1996 numbers, the 1996 tax season they call it, based upon IRS's numbers, there was about 63 million Americans who, when the IRS looked at them at first, said, looks like these guys ought to file a 1040 form, but they didn't. That's not what I'm saying. That's what they're saying. That's their estimate. Nobody knows the real number. Nobody took a survey of the American people, you know, one by one, to see how many filed did it. So, hey, the IRS's number is as good as any out there, so I'm going with that number. That's 12 years old information. So, just the population increase would lead me to believe that the number of non-filers probably now is up around 70 million. Okay? That's my guess. So, out of 70 million people, you got about 200 people go to jail. But the number of filers is about right now, I think about 120, 130 million individuals. Just roughly about double the number of non-filers. But filers go to jail numerically, right? 8, 9 times more than non-filers. The filers are double, but the chance of them going to jail is like 8, 9 times. This is facts. This is cold, hard facts from the horse's mouth, the IRS. Another page of, this is another thing from the IRS, it's called page 9, The Wizard of Oz. How many of you have seen the movie The Wizard of Oz? Who's not seen it? Okay, see it again, okay? Because the man behind the curtain, you know, the real story of Wizard of Oz was a bureaucrat, really. And the bureaucrat was a guy who was just doing his job, you know, he was kind of scaredy cat. He was hiding behind a curtain, making all those bills and whistles and sounds and ooh, big, you know, scaring people. And what happened? The Toto, the dog, went back there, pulled the curtain. Oh, it's just a guy. Okay, IRS agents, folks, are just human beings like you and I, except that generally speaking, not always, generally, there are people who could not start their own business, could not get a job in the private enterprise, even flipping burgers at McDonald's probably, okay? So they have to go get a job and hey, what the heck? IRS is hiring, it pays the bills, pay the mortgage, feed the kids, gets a job. It's a living, as Bugs Bunny says, right? It's a living. So that's what they're doing. So, and they're just told what to do. Now, this is from the webpage of the IRS Commissioner. The last one was a guy named Everson. And the new one, it's about the same information. Most people look at this page and see nothing special. When you look at that page, although I saw something very special, very, very special. See, the truth could be right in front of you, and if you don't know what to look for, if you don't have an analytical mind to think about things, use a little math, and then you won't see it. They're telling us that the agency has about 100,000 employees, a budget of $10 billion, yet they raise and collect about $2.5 trillion. Well, if you divide $2.5 trillion they raise by the $10 billion that they spend, well, that shows mathematically that for every $1,000 that the IRS collects, they only spend about $5. Half of 1%. Not even 1%. Half of 1%. See, most Americans pay the income tax because they think it's their patriotic duty. One, they think they're protecting me from the bad guys, criminals and terrorists and rapists and robbers. Or two, they're too ignorant to see that their paycheck, what the net paycheck is not their paycheck. There's a gross paycheck, taxes are taken out, and they take the rest home. They don't even understand that the money is being stolen from them right up front. So that's reason number two. Okay, so that's generally that's the case. But they don't have a budget, folks. The IRS, they admit in court filings to the judges, Judge, we don't have the resources to go after everybody. You got to make Save a Patriot shut up. You got to make Freedom Enterprise Society shut up. You got to make Patriot Network and We the People shut their mouths, because we cannot go after all their people, all their followers and non-followers. They put out the information. We just cannot go after all of them. Please, please just shut these guys down, because we can't go after all of them. It'd be irreparable harm and injury done to the government. That's what they say. Court file, the government says that. Okay? Because they don't have the budget. So this myth that people have that, IRS is going to intercept my calls and listen to my phone, or Paymon will listen to your phone. You don't even listen to my phone. Okay? I found out from people who've been a lot longer than me, and then they say, Paymon, they don't do that. Joe Barrister tells me, Paymon, if people knew how difficult it is for an IRS agent to try to get a tap order, they forget about it because it's too expensive. That's all TV drama, folks. FBI and CIA and DEA, yes, those guys, they do it. Okay, and of course the movies, they dramatize and glorify it because they go after a very small number of people with a budget. IRS has a bigger budget, but they go after everybody. Way too many people to go after. They just cannot do that, folks. So, but they want you to think that you're powerless. They want you to think that the all-seeing God up here is watching you. He's watching you. And that's why they send out, according to the IRS, over 30 million dumb computer-generated letters. Can you get the flyers on my table, Max, the extra flyers, please, that talks about this information? Okay, I got an article on my website I can pass out here if you want. One of them is called When and How to Respond to IRS Letters. And I go over this issue in detail, and I link to the IRS's own page, actually Government Accounting Office, that IRS says they issue over 30 million dumb computer-generated letters. If you look at the letters, on the bottom right or bottom top has a form number. Always letter number, form number. It's not somebody watching you. It's not like someone's watching Jan here. Hey, Jan, you didn't file that last year. Where's your return? It's not like that. It's a dumb computer. It's all this huge amount of information about all the slaves they got. So, and they're feeding the computers, and on the other side it comes out. Okay, junk in, junk out. Okay. So when we put out this information, it all links the sources, the government itself. Almost all of it, directly or indirectly, is the government itself as a source of all this information that we put out. So, folks, the myth that they got you is false. They don't got you. Now, I'll tell you something else. If you go to page 10 and 11, another shocking factor is, in addition to what I said, that filers go to jail on the average 5 times longer than non-filers. Yeah, that's true. If you file a 1040 income tax confession form, you can go to jail up to 5 years. Whereas non-filer can get 1 year maximum. Now, which would you rather face? 5 years for filling out a 1040 income tax confession form, or 1 year for non-filing? Now, I was in an airplane talking to her airline stewardess about it, and she says, oh, I don't like either. Well, I know, I don't like either, but you're either pregnant or you're not. There's no halfway, is there? The government is so corrupt in the United States, they make these paper tax crimes. Nobody's been hurt. No one's been hurt except the money machine of the governments. That's all. It's over money and power. Because with money you can buy people, buy employees and pay them well to do your bidding, right? They make these crimes. Whether you follow or don't, they're going to come after you. So that's the first thing you got to get, folks. That the government has become your enemy. No matter what you do, the big banks, the corporations who own the media, own the politicians, the executive branch, and the judges, political judges, and they have become your enemy. They are no longer upholding their oath to uphold and defend the U.S. Constitution. Their number one thing is protect the system. Just like the courts were in Iran, just like they were in China and Cuba and all these third world country dictatorships. When I was in Iran, folks, I remember saying, well, yeah, in Iran, yeah, the judges do what the Shah of Iran wants them to do. Yeah, he's just a puppet. He's supposed to be independent, but he's not. In America, they got independent judiciary. You know, independent three branches of government. You can trust the judge to be honest. Rascal judges. They're not. Okay, you know, there's two things that are most repulsive to see. You know, they says how the laws are made by legislation and how they actually implement it. The laws are made in legislature, like in Congress. They give them this big, thick stuff, and the congressmen don't even have the time to read it. They don't read anything. They don't read it. They just sign on it because they're told that's what it says. That's right, folks. You know, the congressman admitted. You know, ask Ron Paul, ask John Conyers, a Democrat from Michigan, says that's the way it's done. That's the way it is. They don't actually read it. But yet they say, you got to know all the laws to the word. And they come after you with it. Okay? Number two, when they take that law in the court, and the law that says they can come after you only this much, the executive branch attorney, government lawyer will try to convince his buddy on the bench, hey, judge, you know, the way I interpret the words, I think that you cannot just go after this guy for this stuff. You can go after him for this and that too, and he's here. He's trying to stretch the law, you know, to interpret it a different way. And the judge up there, former government prosecutor usually, says, yeah, I see that. I see that. Yeah, I think we got to, I'm not going to read the law so narrowly. That's what they say. I'm serious. If you read court cases like I've read it, they just says, we refuse to read the law so narrowly. Yeah, you know, he's not a narrow-minded judge. Okay? You know, or you say, you know, if the law explicitly says if you wiretap your phone, for example, and they don't do it right, or wiretap your stuff, the search is illegal. If the U.S. attorney doesn't sign on it, for example. There was a case I read. And so a case comes up where nobody signed on it. So the court said, well, if it says, the law says if a wrong person signs on it, the search is void. So this court's case says that, well, gee, nobody signed it at all. It's blank. So, well, that's not somebody not signing it. It's just nobody signed on it. So that's not void. The law says only if it's a wrong person's void, right? Then another court case comes up 5 years later, and the judges in this case that some wrong person signed on it, they say, you know what? In this other case, nobody signed on it, and the court said it's okay. Well, certainly the wrong person signing it, logically speaking, can't be any worse than nobody signing it at all, so it's okay. Is that amazing? You think that's what happens? They just lie through the teeth. So anyhow, coming back to subject, the jail time. They are your enemy, and you're going to get more jail time for that. Larkin Rose got 5 years for 5 years of not filing, and he got only 15 months, a year and 3 months. Had he been a filer, instead of 5 years maximum, he would have looked at 25 years of jail, would have gone probably 5-6 years. Sherry Jackson made a mistake after trial, getting rid of her good lawyers, Larry Beecraft and Jeff Dickstein, and that's why she got the 4-year maximum. She should have gotten only 1 year and been out. But if she was a filer, she would have gotten 20 years. Okay? Unfortunately, she did some patriot mythology, and she didn't want to hear about it either. Some funky paper that robs the judge of the jurisdiction, cannot touch her, People go to those things, UCC, I'm a sovereign citizen, or whatever, rebuttal or refusal for fraud, or you name it. That's what she did. But basically, you are putting yourself at risk every time you file a 1040. If you've been filed there, pull out your 1040 like I did. When I heard about this stuff, I went on and said, pull out, filed, not that many, maybe I only filed previously 2 1040 forms in my life. I pulled one up and said, doggone it. They do say, it does say here above my signature that I declare under penalty of perjury that everything in the form is true, correct, and complete. First of all, I got 4 things here. Under penalty of perjury means throw me in jail if I lie. If I make a mistake, you could say it was a lie and put me in jail. If it's not completely true, correct, or complete. Whoa. Now, without knowing the entire IRS code, how the heck could you know if your 1040 was was correct or not? You can't. You cannot. You thought HR Block did you right, your accountant. You don't know that. I had a lady right in the hallway tell me, oh, I don't know if I have to amend my 1040 because HR Block messed me up and they did it wrong. Well, you trust your accountant? You trust your CPA? Let me tell you something. When I did a seminar with Joe Bannister back in LA, when he first came out with this stuff in Burbank, it was July '99. I was doing registrations when other people were speaking. We had a one-day seminar. And a lady came to me, and she wanted to talk to Joe Bannister because she heard about income tax fraud, that no law requires the average American to file income tax. And he says, my husband's in jail over income taxes. I'm here to get some help. Okay, well, Joe, I don't see him around, but why don't you talk to me? He's one of my students, and I'll tell you what I can do. And when Joe comes, yeah, you're welcome to talk to him too. She said, well, my husband and I are millionaires. We get big royalty checks. And we have professional prepared returns, and we sign it religiously like good citizens, we thought. And then IRS comes after both of us criminally. Then it charges us for tax crimes. Put us in jail, they want to do. We go to the IRS. Why? We're good, honest people, tax-paying citizens. If there's a problem, we owe the tax, we pay it, interest, even penalty, but don't put us in jail. Oh, no. Sorry. Your number came up. We're going to put you in jail. Wait. You misunderstand. I signed the paper, I know, but listen, the professional here, he filled it out. He kept the records. I don't know how to do accounting or taxes. You sure ought to put him in jail for putting the wrong stuff in front of me to sign. And the IRS informed him, oh, no, you don't understand. That's not the way it works. You signed the 1040. You're the one that's going to go to jail. Right. Surprise, surprise. So then they go to try to get money for a lawyer, and all their accounts are frozen. Bank accounts, stock brokerage accounts. They can't get any money out. It's all frozen by the IRS. And how does the IRS know that, where all the money is? They put it on the 1040 forms. Yes, you list it. You list your dividends you got, the bank interest you got, where your home is, everything. Now, somebody told me, well, they have your social security number. They can track it with that. Yeah, maybe. But it's not already right there available on the list, given and guaranteed by you to be true. Joe Bannister, in 5 years he was with the IRS folks. This is not part of his talk, but he told me, pay him on. In 5 years, I was with a special agent with the IRS. I got 4 people, 4 business owners. They were all of them filers. They all filed 1040 income tax confession forms. And it was standard process for the IRS. Whenever we had a target to ask for the copy of his previous 1040 confession forms, bring it out, and use that information against them. You didn't know that, did you? So, this couple, you know, their monies are frozen. They eventually raised $100,000. This was about, what, 9 years ago? They go to a lawyer, pay him the money, and the lawyer says, okay, now you pay me $100,000 for my advice. I'll tell you what I think you ought to do. You ought to go plead guilty and make a deal. What? Well, look, here's the problem. You signed the form, you know, and they do take and I've seen it in a trial, you know, and they do this. And these doctors who stole women's eggs, I attended a trial. What they do, they blow up that little piece of paper, the signature line, I declare under penalty of perjury, that's all true, correct, and complete above your signature. They blow it up big on these big screens, just like this, in front of the jury, and then read it to the jury. See, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, he or she signed this under penalty of perjury. All true, correct, and complete. He knew what he was signing, but he lied. The numbers in the form don't lie. They are wrong. Oh, he's going to try to say it's accident, it's his accountant's fault. But don't you buy that. You know, of course, people do that to cheat, don't you? We all know that, right? That's how they get their filers. Now, the Lord says, now, you might be able to convince the jury that it was an honest mistake, it was the accountant's fault. But what if the jury doesn't buy that? You want to face going to jail for the rest of your life and maybe die in jail? Why? Because as a filer, you're looking at what? It's, tax evasion is one charge, and misstatement of a material fact, and then a charge on top of that, conspiracy. I mean, they could put multiple charges. You're looking at maybe potential 25, 30 years or more in jail. Do you want to look at all that stuff? You just better make a jail deal. So that's what they do. They go, the husband pleads guilty to a lesser charges, gets a few years of jail, and now the wife is here saying, the whole system is a fraud, I understand. Can the former gun-carrying special agent Jewel Bannister, who is exposing the Irish fraud, get my husband out of it? He's a former special agent. Nope. Sorry, nobody can get you out of a deal you made with the government. You made a deal with the devil. But the biggest mistake was you found that 1040 confession form. Now, why call it the confession form? Because that government calls it a return. Now, why? Because if their government were to call that 1040 confession form what it is, a 1040 confession form that you rat on yourself, you took the rope, put it around your neck, pulled on it, gave it to the government, you sent it in. Here, hold on to it. Here's my 1040 form. Pull on it. Yank it if you want to, okay? Well, you do that. If they called it that, nobody would do it. Nobody would do it. Most people are honest people. Adolf Hitler said, people would believe in the big lie, easy in a small lie. Why? Why did Hitler say that? Because the average person is honest. And they wouldn't tell a lie at all. But if you tell a lie so big that they just couldn't imagine somebody lying so big, they just refuse to believe it. Oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. They just dismiss it out of hand without even taking a little time to look at the facts, which is what, of course, everybody should do, right? So if what they do, they call their 1040 income tax return. Return. Now, the word return is very deceptive. First of all, it's never defined anywhere in the IRS code. I challenge anybody to show me the IRS code to find the word return defined. But return suggests that you took something from somebody that you return it to them now, right? I took it from you, and I'm returning it to you. So, what did you take? All of you filed in this room. What did you file? What did you take from the government that with that 1040 form you were giving back? Do you take anything from the government? No? So what are you returning to them? You're not. They just call it that to cover up the true nature of what you did. The most insidious self-enslavement. I've had people who've been non-filers for years. They were doing just fine. Their lawyer or accountant got them scared, went back into being a confession slave, and they said, I signed a form. I owe them $250,000 for all these years now. Now they're after me. They want me to pay. They thought by being a filer, everything's going to go away. And they realized that you filed, now you got to pay. It's not just filing. Then why don't you pay the money that you said you owe them? Of course, they take a confession that you had, let's say, for example, $100,000 of taxable income you said you made, but suppose you had $40,000 of business expenses, and supposedly you had $20,000 of deductions as a chiropractor, whatever you do. Now you're down to $40,000 of taxable income. You only pay a tax on the $40,000 only. The government, IRS, will say, we'll take your confession a whole $100,000. It's all taxable. Now you've got to prove all your expenses, all your deductions. If you don't, you're a tax cheat. We're going to take away your deduction and take the tax from you plus penalties and interest, or try to put you in jail for tax evasion. That's the game. That's why no matter what, the media by April 15th says, and the pundits, the experts, CPAs who write for the newspaper say, no matter what, you should always follow that 1040 confession form on time. Even if you don't have the money to pay it then. You can always pay him later. Yeah, because there's no challenge in the tax. There is no challenge when you yourself rat it against yourself and say, I declare under penalty of perjury, I owe this much. Well, you said it yourself. Then there's no question about it, is it? Does the average American understand all this? No, they don't. See now what they're doing, folks? They are using a tool called the Art of War by Sun Tzu. How many of you heard of Sun Tzu? Oh, wow, good crap. Well, I'll tell you, for those of you who don't know, Sun Tzu was a Chinese general who wrote the definitive book on how to win any kind of a war. And it was not about spears and arrows. It was about tactics and strategies. His timeless classic concepts are used today by military leaders all over the world and by politicians who want more power and by business executives who want to beat their competition. It's about strategy and tactic. And you know what he says, Sun Tzu? The best way to win any kind of a war is to convince your enemy that the smartest, safest thing for him to do is to voluntarily surrender to you without a fight. Don't waste one bullet or one soldier's life. That's such a sweet victory. God, do whatever you can to save our bullets and our soldiers' lives. Just fool him. Fool him. Play mind games with him. Brainwash him. And that's what they do, fathers. Oh, if I don't file, I'm going to go to jail. If I don't file, they're going to take everything away from me. Okay? Now, I'm not going to tell you that not filing is going to be a cakewalk by itself. I'm not saying that either. Because the government and politicians are hungry for your money. In Joe Bannister's trial, and I was there in person, okay, in this article I'll talk about it. The government lawyer twist, that crooked government lawyer twist. I heard him come out of his mouth. He told the jury that for Joe Bannister it was all about the money. It was about the money. And he said it in those tones. Well, I submit to you that it's not for Joe Bannister, an American patriot, that's about the money. It's for the politicians, the crooked congressmen, senators, and their prosecutor judges, government lawyers and judges, who for them it's about their power structure. Then I want to admit to the American people they've been ripping us off for decades of trillions of dollars and jailing tens of thousands of people illegally that have been renewed together. And we've been just like a bunch of sheep sleeping at the wheel, now watching our public servants out there. Okay, our servants are run amok. They don't want to do that. For them, it's about the money. So the first battle you got to have in your mind, and by the way, I wrote an article about this in Republic magazine. George, you want to give me a copy of that? This most recent issue of Republic magazine gave me one. I wrote an article about that. You got to get it to people's hands because this is one of the biggest things I've seen. Patriots have problem telling their friends and neighbors. Their friends and neighbors think the filing a 1040 form is safe. This is the article I wrote. Okay? It's called Exposing the IRS as Tactical and Psychological Warfare on Americans. Okay? And in the February 2000 issue of Republic magazine. There's a lot of great articles here about Joe Bannister, Tommy Cryer. You all got to get a bunch of these things, folks, these magazines, and get them out to your friends and neighbors and coworkers. So once you understand that you got an enemy on your hand, the government, that they want your money, the politicians, what do you do? What do you do? Well, the way I came out with it is that first you got to recognize what the problem is and the solutions. We just told you about the problem. Now the solution. You heard at this conference tales of absolute deep corruption at the highest level of U.S. government, right? The FBI, you heard about it, from the IRS to the Federal Reserve to the Coast Guard, you name it. You heard all these great speakers. And I'll tell you what, all these guys' presentations is part of my presentation. Okay, you ought to really get the full concept of what I'm talking about, you ought to watch the whole conference and then listen to mine. You get a better idea of what I really mean. We are overdue for revolution, as I said yesterday. Overdue. But we cannot do it prematurely because American people don't know what's going on. So what I recommend you do is get educated, number one. Verify everything that we're telling you is true. That's why in a level 1 course, and Andrew, maybe you can bring me a level 1 course from back there, which I showed you guys yesterday. We show you the first thing to do is to how to use the law library and verify it all for yourself, okay? Don't believe anything I say. And that's why this course, which is only $300, comes with a 90-day unconditional money-back guarantee, because I don't want you to buy something that you say, oh, it's a bunch of junk, you ripped me off, this is the course. So get it, use it, okay? You're going to find a very indispensable educational course for you over 22 hours, okay? That's the basic thing. Second step, I say, is after you verify all this stuff, in fact, the Beginner's Freedom Package that we have includes more material, like Joe Barronson material, American Freedom to Fascism, some from Ed Griffin, and others, that's going to give you better education. I would say send to your congressmen, senators about your issues that you're concerned about. If the 911 you believe was an inside job, was a cover-up job, they didn't want to talk to William Rodriguez, that he felt there was explosion underneath him, made him push up, and from the basement, the bombs were underneath, write your congressmen, senators about them, and ask them to investigate it themselves. They each individually have a duty to investigate this stuff. They do. Even though your congressman, like my congressman I had a few years ago, Jerry Lewis, take the position, well, I'm not part of that committee, and so I cannot do that. You are going to talk to somebody in that committee. This is how they pass the buck along, these politicians. Okay? They all have a duty. Why? They all took an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. That's their number one duty and job description. That means when that becomes an issue, the government criminality is alleged or claimed, they got to put everything else aside and look at that. If it's about an income tax issue or Federal Reserve, write to them, ask them, hey, is Joe Barronster and We the People Foundation, who tried to debate the government a bunch of fraud and lies, why don't you answer me? Show me. Show me if they're wrong. Write to all of them, all your congressmen, senators. I did. I did. And I tell you what, in my case, none of them answered me. Or they gave me, oh, it's so nice to hear from your concerns from taxpayers, some form letter. Yeah. I tell you what, my congressman was Christopher Cox, who you heard about earlier today from Eric, and he used to used to at Harvard Law School. He used to teach constitutional law and tax law. Yeah. So I thought, and he was a Reagan cabinet lawyer in his cabinet also, was a lawyer there. And I thought, great, man, my congressman happened to be the best one. So I wrote to him, and I went and saw him at a town hall meeting, and I gave him the Joe Barronster report to refute. I talked to him about it. I said, please, look at this information, get back with me. Ignored. You know why they ignore us? Because they cannot refute us. Otherwise, why wouldn't they just show us the law, show us what we're wrong? They just want to ignore you. They ignore the issues. They ignore the criminality. So that's the second step. I said you got to freedom preparation is verify it, giving these guys a chance. Write to them, address your concerns. That's guaranteed by the First Amendment right to redress of grievance to your public officials and demand accountability from them. They must be accountable to you. If they're not accountable to you, they don't write you back, they don't address the issues you brought in your letter. They just told you they are committing treason. Now, are you in support of treasonous people or against them? It's that simple. So if you don't want treason to go on, do not support it. Don't give him any more money. It only encourages them, doesn't it? Okay? Don't give him any more money. Quit filling out their forms. Quit giving them money. Tell more people about what's going on like I'm doing here. Okay, that's part of my efforts to try to change this thing. More of us need to change the revolution. We can do revolution without guns. Just quit giving them your money to destroy us. Quit putting your rope around your neck with these 1040 confession forms and other forms and join the fight. Now, if you want to sign 1040 forms, you can do that. Well, what I did is I formed 2 freedom packages because I figured that that's the way the Founding Fathers did it. What happened in Founding Fathers is that Benjamin Franklin told the Founding Fathers, gentlemen, we shall hang together, or we shall surely hang separately. That goes on today just as well. What if everybody in this room, you all committed your lives, your fortune, and your sacred honor in defending our rights and freedom? What if everybody in this room did that? We have something pretty powerful, wouldn't we? The problem is, until Freedom Law School put this conference together, you're all individuals in your own neighborhoods and towns or families. You were like the lone wolf. I'm here by myself. But now you see we can organize, put our commitment and resources together to stand up, to educate ourselves, to educate and confront our public servants to be accountable, to educate our friends and neighbors, and to be there to defend each other. So now with this commitment and fortune and sacred honor we put together, if they come after any one of us, they come after all of us. It's one for all and all for one. Heard that saying before? Literally. Okay? But folks, let me tell you something. You know, in life, nothing's happen unless someone's willing to put a price and put their neck forward and put on and make it happen. These conferences wouldn't be happening if I wasn't willing to say, I'll put the money up front, I'll put the $30,000, $50,000 up front, advertise it, pay for everything, contract with the hotel, all this stuff, and hopefully I'll come out ahead or make a little money or what, right? Somebody got to do it. That's why this conference, the co-sponsors only promote. Freedom Law School pays all the costs up front. So these programs also take the commitment of you too. They cost money because you could not expect paralegals, attorneys, professionals who are really good at this stuff to work for free. They got to pay their expenses. Jeff Dickstein, who talked about his lawsuit he's doing against defending Bill Benson, he failed to mention, besides his printing costs, he's got his own rent and utilities and food to pay for. Somebody said, oh, I'll give him $500 for half his printing costs I covered. He felt good about that, which is nice. He get $500. But he didn't think, well, he's got his food and rent and utilities to pay, right? You cannot go to the utility company. I'm doing great work. Would you please accept payment 5 years later from me? They don't do that, okay? So what I did at Freedom Law School, I said, you know, let's use a mastermind concept of working the best minds, like a basketball dream team of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jim Jordan, all these other guys, right? Michael Jordan, all these guys, and work with all of them. So we put the dream team of freedom movement in America together. You see it on page 24 and 5 of our catalog. Okay, this is just a partial listing. Okay, and none of these guys, you know, like are employees of Freedom Law School or anything. They're independent. Okay, but when this guy's expertise comes into play, I'll work with him. If Joe Bannister's accounting expertise is needed, I'll work with him. If Jeff Dickstein has a good information, I'll learn from that. Dave Walton has something really good to say, great, I'll listen to him. Or maybe I'll have these guys work together, and we put teams together. That's what it takes. And that's what is working. It really is working, folks. We're having great results. You know, Freedom Law School is the only organization in America, in the tax honesty movement, the only one, and I mean the only one, who the IRS has not gotten a court order against us as an abusive tax shelter promoter. The only one. Why? Because we had to learn to be smarter. And the way you do that, you got to watch the movie Patriot with Mel Gibson. Have you seen the movie Patriot with Mel Gibson, anybody? Watch it again. That's our hero. The character Mel Gibson, you got to watch it if you haven't seen it, is you cannot just go argue legality and income tax. They're going to rule over you. You beat them on evidence, technicality, procedure. You cross every T, you dot every I. And when they don't cross the T, don't dot the I, you get them as a filer or non-filer. Our program, the Royal and Simple Freedom Packages, cover both. Filers and non-filers both can be covered. The problem for the filer is the burden of proof you put on yourself is so high that we require a lot more of a filer before we can give them the same kind of assistance and representation as a non-filer. Because you hang yourself, put the burden of proof on yourself, whereas the non-filer, the government now must prove their case. You see what I'm saying? So these programs are affordable, and for many of you, for some of you it may not be so affordable up front, no problem. We'll let you make payments. Okay? The money is needed just to make things work, but don't let money stop you from freedom. I don't ever want to hear that. And if you say, well, I got nothing, I got no money, I barely got in the conference, well, guess what? The first year of these programs, the Rural and Simple Freedom Package, we raised the price to double what it would be so that someone like you can go out there, talk to people, educate as many people as possible. You get paid for educating. And out of these 10 people, 100 people that give this information packages, somebody says, whoa, this is good. I want to get in. I'm with you. This is a way to get America back. I want to be free. You can get paid up to $3,000 cash. We don't ask for your slave surveillance numbers, no W-4s, no 1099s. In fact, you get paid first. You collect the application and the funds, keep your part, and give us the rest. How can it get better than that? So, folks, money is not a problem, and we are coming on hard times in America, okay? So don't wait until you lose your job, until you lose your business, because I'm telling you, unless you're going to be in the class tomorrow to learn how the coming crash is coming, and some of you heard dinner from Ed Griffin, we're coming for some hard crash landing, haven't we? Ron Paul's been talking about it, and Ed Griffin told us about it again. I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. Whether you're a chiropractor, whether you're an insurance salesman, whatever kind of business you got or what job you got, your job could be at the chopping block when the things are going to get hard in America. Don't wait till then. Start now. Get this information packages. Get them to as many people as possible. Okay? Just put your name on the application as a referring person. There's room for that. When if they bypass you, we'll call you and say, hey, guess what, Dave? I'm sending some money to you your way because he bypassed you. Send everything to us directly. Okay? Now, this is not a network marketing plan. This is just a referral. You refer somebody and you can get paid for it well because a revolution got to be financed, folks. I'll through the legal, technical, financial, and organizational aspect of this thing, folks. It's going to take all the above. Okay? You are going to be part of the revolution, okay, in this way, and the paralegals attorneys on a different way. Okay? You can be a part of it, and you can be proud of it. Okay? With the programs come with unlimited consultation. Someone's always there to answer your call, talk to you, answer your questions, right? And there's two levels of representation. They both defend you criminally if they want to put you in jail. Okay, that's right. We pay the paralegals and attorneys, and the Rural Freedom Package, with that one, we pay even if they come after you for money, because 99.9% they only come after you criminally. And the IRS has yet to go after any of our students criminally. Okay, we had a state do that. New Mexico, they're aggressive, but not the IRS. So here we got on page 19, 18, 19, and forward. These programs are described in more detail. Okay, and we've had actual real victories we put on our website. And I tell you what, we got more coming up. We're going to put on our website in the next few weeks and months. Some more, we're going to put them up there. Okay, we're going to black out a person's name for privacy reasons, stuff like that. But folks, it's working. We just got to be wiser. Okay, so having said that, folks, I want to thank you for listening, and I want to invite you folks to think about all this. And I mean, think about it. Read about it. Review it. But at the end, look in your heart and say, do I want to be motivated by what I'm afraid of? Fear of being hurt by the government? Or the love of freedom and doing the right thing? Because the bottom line is, folks, guess what? That's going to determine your life. Not just the issue with the government and taxes, but your life. The way of devil, the way of evil, is to control you by fear of getting hurt. The way of goodness, kindness, and love is be loving, go forward with courage, and do the right thing, stand for the right thing, and that's why we love doing it. That's why Dave Von Kleist loves coming to these conferences every year, because he feels good about being part of something good, even though, folks, we don't have, IRS comes by my house in Phelan, and in the report they did on the house, they say it's a dilapidated house. Seriously. Who cares? My house doesn't have a curb appeal at many of our students' homes. So what? I don't care. Don't have to be rich to be happy. I'm happy, right? Without having to be filthy rich. So, let that love be your guide. And if you do that, you'll develop the courage to do the right thing. And if you do the right thing, like Joe Bannister, folks, and you be prepared and have some good help behind you, like Joe did. He got Jeff Dickstein to be his lawyer. He was a good student of Freedom Law School, and we had the whole dream team, Dave Willens, Sean O'Connor, all these other guys who were there to assist him and guide him and coach him. He was smart. You will not go to jail. Those people who did not prepare, they're the ones who went to jail. I offered Sherry Jackson also to help her, educate her, to work with her. She said no. I offered Larkin Rose to do the same thing. He said no. I offered so many leaders of the freedom movement, my good friend Urban Schiff, let us help you. I got good paralegals attorneys. They said no. I got them handled. I got them beat. If the leaders of the movement couldn't do it, why you as individuals could do it? Don't be a lone wolf. Join hands with the rest of us folks, and together we can have you be free and have America be free. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you.